Finally, our aspiration of constructing a new, spacious home had become a reality, and I was overflowing with excitement at the thought of embarking on a fresh chapter in our lives. Just when we were ready to celebrate, an unexpected surprise interrupted our plans. My in-laws arrived without warning. With a commanding tone, they announced, "We're moving in here," and instructed my parents to vacate the premises. Stunned, I turned to my husband for support, but he merely inhaled deeply and said, "Please comply with their request. Let your parents down gently." As I observed my in-laws enthusiastically unpacking and making themselves at home in what was meant to be our new sanctuary, I felt a wave of disbelief and irritation. "Do you understand this is our house?" I questioned, hoping they might realize the gravity of the situation. "I'm Tiffany, 32 years old, and I've enjoyed a loving relationship with my husband, Jesse, for 4 wonderful years. Although we don't have children yet, our life is filled with love and mutual support. Lately, I've been increasingly worried about my elderly parents. Their declining health has been on my mind, leading me to propose that Jesse and I move in with them to help." Jesse readily agreed, recognizing the dual advantages of our decision, providing care for my parents while also easing our own concerns. "It's a win-win scenario," he remarked, and I felt grateful for his understanding and support. We began to consider this plan, but the logistics soon proved challenging. My family's home is located far from the city, complicating our commutes, especially since neither of us drives. Additionally, moving my parents to our small rental in the city wasn't feasible, particularly given its already cramped quarters and our hopes for future children. Faced with these obstacles, I suggested a bold alternative: why not build a new home that could comfortably accommodate everyone? Jesse's eyes lit up at the suggestion. "That's an excellent idea," he exclaimed, inspired by his enthusiasm. We began planning the construction of a home that would meet all our needs. When I shared our plans with my parents, they initially felt a pang of guilt for the burden we were taking on. However, once I explained our reasoning, their hesitation transformed into excitement, which brought me immense relief and joy. Later, my husband and I visited a real estate agency to finalize the details of our project. We focused on finding locations close to hospitals to ensure easy access to medical care for my parents, as well as near train stations to simplify our daily commutes. While discussing the specifics of the house, I noticed my parents appeared somewhat reluctant about the idea of living with us. Thankfully, Jesse offered several insightful suggestions that helped clarify our plans. As we made progress, our dream home began to take shape, and the excitement was contagious. After extensive discussions and thorough online research, we finalized our plans and were ready to start consulting builders. "We're almost done with the preparations," I noted, recognizing how the process of building a home was turning out to be more complicated than we'd anticipated. "Juggling this with work is definitely slowing things down," Jesse remarked, acknowledging the hurdles we were facing. We dedicated considerable time and energy to our plans, and the results were incredibly satisfying. The blueprint we meticulously created exceeded all our expectations. We consulted various real estate agents and conducted thorough online research to reach this point. Now, all that remained was to eagerly await the completion of our house. It would take time, but the excitement and anticipation were boundless. However, as the project progressed, my in-laws began to take a greater interest. "Dear, we heard you're building a new house, right?" they inquired one day. "Yes, that's true. We're hoping to finish by the end of the year," I responded. "How wonderful. I'm so impressed by Jesse's efforts and how he keeps us informed about all the details," they exclaimed, showing genuine interest in our project. When my mother-in-law suddenly expressed a desire to visit us soon, I was surprised but agreed with enthusiasm. That weekend, my husband and I planned a visit to their home. They welcomed us with warm smiles, and the conversation quickly shifted to our new house project. "Building a brand new home is such a delightful event, isn't it?" my father-in-law remarked, his tone reflective as if he were reminiscing about his own experiences. "Yes, we're very excited," I replied. "We hope the construction goes smoothly and quickly so we can move in as soon as possible." We all shared a laugh about the thrilling journey ahead. Curious, my mother-in-law asked, "Could we see the blueprints?" My husband promptly pulled out his phone and shared a photo of the design. "Oh, it's quite spacious," she remarked, "and so many rooms." "Yes, well, since we'll be living with my parents, we needed the extra space," I explained. Both of my in-laws exchanged glances of disbelief with Jesse. "You're all moving in together?" they asked. "Yes," Jesse confirmed. "Since my parents are aging, we suggested living together, which led us to the decision to build a new house." Really? I see, they replied, their tone subtly shifting to one of discomfort. Sensing the tension, I quickly redirected the conversation. How have you both been? How's your health? We're doing well, no major changes, just the usual routine, they replied, but their curiosity about our plans remained evident. Tell us more about the new house. Which room will your parents be using? They asked. As Jesse pointed to the blueprint to explain, I noticed the mood had indeed shifted. He seemed unaware of the change, but I could see their expressions had tightened. Despite this, we continued discussing the layout, hopeful that our shared excitement for new beginnings would eventually put everyone at ease. When my in-laws discovered that my parents would be moving in with us, I worried they might perceive it as preferential treatment, despite my slight feeling of guilt. I had hoped my in-laws would comprehend our choice, given my parents' circumstances, but it was becoming clear that they were struggling to accept it. The construction of our new house was progressing well, and with each visit, I could see it inching closer to completion. My husband often expressed his excitement about moving in soon, yet I found myself caught between the thrill of a new beginning and the desire for everything to be perfect. When my parents came to visit midway through construction, their joy and gratitude overwhelmed me, reinforcing my happiness about providing them with a new home. However, I noticed my husband had been visiting his parents almost every weekend lately. Are you heading to see your parents again this weekend? I inquired. Yeah, I am, he answered. I pointed out how frequently he had been going since the start of the year, and he replied, I want to show my appreciation for them. That's why I'm making an effort to visit on my days off. Recognizing his intentions, I asked, should I join you? I was worried his parents might feel excluded or disappointed, perhaps hoping they would be moving in with us. I thought it might be a nice gesture to visit them together, but my husband reassured me, saying, it's fine, I can handle it alone. Before heading to his parents' place, I decided to respect his decision and promised my support if he needed it. Time passed quickly, and before long, our new house was finally complete. On moving day, we filled the car with boxes and excitedly set off to our new home, ready to embark on this new chapter together. As we arrived, the sight of our new place took my breath away, prompting me to exclaim, wow, our new home. It represented the start of something fresh. I found myself daydreaming about life there, picturing cooking while watching my husband play with our future child in the yard or hosting family barbecues. These visions only amplified my excitement. Just then, my parents called to let us know they would be delayed due to traffic. They encouraged us to start settling in, but I insisted, we'll wait for you, planning to discuss this with my husband. To my surprise, however, his parents arrived unannounced. I stared in disbelief as they exited their car, smiling and approaching us. Look at this beautiful house, it's impressive enough to show off to our friends, they declared. Yes, it's the home that Jesse and I meticulously planned, I responded. Tiffany, your taste is impeccable, my mother-in-law complimented. I suppose I can take a bit of credit for that, I replied with a polite nod. To my shock, they began unloading a large amount of luggage from their car. Confused, I quickly asked, Mother-in-law, father-in-law, why do you have so much stuff? What are your plans? Their response caught me completely off guard. What do you mean? We're moving in here, they said. You're starting to live here today, but you'll need to ask your parents to leave. Why would you do this? I asked, my voice laced with disbelief and frustration. My mother-in-law explained, as a new bride, it's customary to prioritize your husband's family. This unexpected turn left me grappling with the joy of a new beginning alongside the daunting challenge of meeting family expectations and our carefully crafted plans. Overwhelmed, I turned to my husband for support when his parents insisted they should move into our new house. Taking a deep breath, he said, just let your parents know gently. I felt a wave of disbelief wash over me. This house was meant for me and my parents. I can't accept this, I argued. His response was tinged with irritation. Didn't my mom just say it's natural for a wife to prioritize her husband's family? We can figure out your parents' situation later. Later on, I was left speechless. It became painfully evident that my husband was either heavily swayed by his parents or shared their perspectives, which were becoming increasingly clear. Come on, help with the moving, he insisted as his parents started to unload their belongings, even though my parents and I hadn't even entered the house yet. Oh, how delightful, the inside is simply magnificent, they exclaimed eagerly as they wandered through the house. I confronted them. Are you even aware whose house this is? What? They replied, clearly surprised. After a brief pause, they turned to me and asserted, whose house? Of course, it's Jesse's. Are you suggesting you have a stake in it just because you and Jesse are living here and he invested so much into building it? You have no right to make any claims before we've had a chance to explain. It seemed my in-laws had leaped to conclusions and were quick to blame me, suggesting that my husband hadn't shared the full story regarding our financial contributions to the house. Why would your parents live in Jesse's house in the first place? They pressed. Yes, it's odd. Poor Jesse, stuck with such a demanding wife and parents, they added derisively. I reached my limit. Why am I being blamed for their misunderstandings? If you plan to stay here, then Jesse should reimburse me for what he spent, I argued. I have put my money into this house, I asserted, facing their disbelief. How much are you claiming? It must be a pittance, perhaps $100? They scoffed. My husband looked uneasy and remained quiet. I turned to him, challenging. Are you being truthful? How arrogant do you think you are? He hesitated, unsure of how to respond. What are you implying? My mother-in-law demanded, her tone authoritative. Noticing my husband's reluctance to address the issue, I decided to clarify everything once and for all. I purchased this house entirely with my savings. If you plan to live here, I expect repayment of $460,000 for its cost. My in-laws were visibly taken aback, their mouths dropped open, and their eyes widened in disbelief. They quickly turned to my husband for confirmation. Jesse, is this true? Did Tiffany actually buy this house? They asked, struggling to comprehend the situation. My husband gave a slight nod. Yes, Tiffany bought the house. She just got promoted and now earns more than I do, he then confessed. He revealed something more personal, but even though I've been working for a long time and graduated from a prestigious university, I made a major error at work. I can't get promoted and even took a pay cut. Now I'm earning as much as a new hire. The room fell silent as they absorbed this information. We never anticipated Jesse would be in such a predicament. After a moment of stunned silence, their attitude toward me shifted dramatically. Tiffany, we sincerely apologize for our earlier remarks. We misinterpreted everything. Please forgive us and let us stay in this house, they begged, their tone filled with regret. My husband also joined in, bowing deeply. Please, it's my fault for not informing you sooner. Let us stay here with you. Their sudden change in attitude and plea for forgiveness caught me completely off guard. Despite their apologies, I remained steadfast. No matter how much you plead, I can't accept this. I built this house to live with my parents. If that's not feasible, there's no reason to keep this house. If you wish to stay here, you'll need to pay me $460,000. We don't have that kind of money, they replied, their expressions falling. Then it looks like you'll need to find somewhere else to stay, I stated, resolute in my decision. Wait, they interjected, we sold our previous home and moved out. When my in-laws realized they could potentially be evicted from our new house, they became desperate. Tiffany, please let us stay. Your parents can move in with us too, they pleaded. The idea of living with both sets of parents seemed overwhelming to me. I can't agree to that. If you sold your house, you must have some money left. Why not use that to find an apartment? I asked. Tears filled their eyes. The truth is, we lost a significant amount in a poor investment. The proceeds from selling our house and our retirement savings went toward paying off that debt. We have nothing left. I'm retired, and my wife has been a homemaker for years, so she can't work at her age. You're our only hope, they confessed. Despite their heartfelt plea, I felt their predicament was a result of their financial mismanagement. If you need help, shouldn't you be asking your son for support? I'm not in a position to assist strangers, I replied. Aren't we family too? They asked, their voices heavy with emotion. That's asking too much. Can't you at least help us a little? They continued to implore. I remained firm. It's impossible. I can't even begin to imagine living with someone whose family is attempting to take over our home. In a moment of intense frustration, I blurted out, Jesse, let's get a divorce. What? Hold on, I can't even consider a divorce. I'm sorry, but I can't forgive this. Please leave immediately, I demanded. The mention of divorce sent my husband into a panic while his parents continued to plead. However, my resolve had solidified. If you intend to stay here, I'll call the police, I warned, causing my in-laws to leave in fear. My husband, dismayed, protested, I'm still your husband, I should have the right to stay here. If you insist, I'll take legal action, I replied firmly, realizing that a lawsuit could threaten his job. He quickly gathered his things and departed. Not long after he left, my parents arrived, confused by his absence. They were shocked when I explained the situation but expressed their gratitude. "Thank you for standing up for us," they said. I wished my husband had been more understanding, but I felt relieved to distance myself from such a selfish in-law family, especially before our child was born. The divorce process proceeded smoothly, and I soon found myself single again. Now, I enjoyed tranquil days in our newly built house with my parents, grateful for the peace that replaced the chaos. Thanks for tuning in. See you again in the next video, and stay amazed.